We can hear you though.
Peace, peace, peace. Peace and
Yeah,
light,
y'all just
powerful,
sound
and
a
welcome
little
to
low.
another episode, Student Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge One a lot, and you see we got dream team. We have the Hanisu in the building. We got the super T, the super red, and we got this tonight. And and our family in the building. We got some things to discuss that we were unable to get to during the last episode. So they chose to come back to this platform to say and to get down what to get down. So without any further ado, at this time to introduce some of them to others. And the super the Hamnative Hanisu and teacher to Benu is in the building.
All right, yo, yo. Peace, life, prosperity, and health to the African family tuning in. Dualitaire, and definitely it's an honor to be here. With the family, and special thanks and honor and praises to Brother Bond for extending the invitation to grace his illustrious platform. One more again. You know what I mean? So it's an honor to be here and ready to get busy, you heard?
All right. Dua Nasu, we do got the mother of our nation in the building, the queen mother of our nation in the building. So uh, let's do those honors, Nasu.
Okay. Well, yeah, let me introduce y'all to my my partner in crime, you know what I mean? Without a doubt, the the co-founder of Haneen Sue, you know what I mean? My how you say, my life partner, my case study, you know what I'm saying, and research project, you know. Definitely anything that I am, and anything that I've contributed to the work of, you know, the restoration and reconstruction of our culture. I definitely did it by way of, and through the support and the direct help of this woman right here. So, you know what I mean? Without any further ado, Hamat Nisu Warid, Marina Turk Secretary Benu. It's a blessing to have her on here to, share her wisdom and her experience with us. She had to travel with us to Kemet, um, travel with us to Kemet, this past summer. So, with her, just her perspective, her eye for, life and whatnot, I'm looking forward to hearing, the things that she's gonna share, uh, regarding, the trip, regarding the tradition, etc. So on. Right? So that's the good word there. Marina Turk, without any further
Oh, y'all, so sweet. Hetefu, peace to the family. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to seeing some of the pics, hearing some of the things that the rest of the family has to share.
Okay, so y'all can print out a couple. Let me get that view. You know what I'm saying? Let me get that view right there. There they go. You understand? The Behudet clan. You know, um, the warrior family and the warrior clan. Y'all
Wow.
introduce yourself. You
Attributes.
understand? Introduce yourself to the family, and we want to take our time because we have, today I got time. Cause you understand? Today I got time, so we could get into some of the intricacies and things that we did not have time to hit on during the last broadcast. We could get with the play by play, as the two would say. The trip, so we could just start with y'all. Y'all can get long winded. You understand? Whatever you feel. You understand?
Wow.
Let's put the Nile Valley cultural pilgrimage in perspective in regards to sights and sounds and educational takeaways from your fact finding mission in the Nile Valley. You understand? But as Nasu said, you heard me. The
Yeah,
fact.
well, thank you for all of that. Appreciate you, brother. This is my name is Behudet Ma'at. This is my beloved wife, Meti
What's the reach?
Ma'at, aka the Ma'at clan. I don't know if we're gonna get any flack for that, but we don't care. But anyway, we had a great time on the trip. We're proud. Let me start with a little bit about ourselves. Um, we're proud family members in Hininsu. Um, we have been doing this for a little bit of time now.
Two,
3 years.
3 years.
Running on 3 years, and we're having a great time. Loving life. You know, as we say, living our best life.
Yep.
You know, enjoying the family vibe, doing family things. And we're gonna get into some of the things about the trip as far as fact finding. We found out quite a few facts by way of our tour leader. What I'm saying, Nisu, Benu. So we might have got some questions, but answered, and got some education on that, but don't expect much. No. Just jokes. But anyway,
Uh-oh.
we're gonna have a good time tonight. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
If I
Anything?
could ask, um, what was before we go into that? What was it about Haninsu? Y'all are family people. What was it about Haninsu that attracted you? And also, if y'all could speak about some of those things inside of Haninsu that are differentiating factors in regards to some of the other things you might see out there, and we could kind of ease into the trip.
Oh man, you got some good questions there. All right. So yeah, we are definitely family oriented, and when I first got introduced to Hinin tours by way of the internet, I had noticed the book Remembering Osir, and so I reached out to Nisu via Messenger, and I asked him, did his book have any Adunater in it, and he replied, for sure, or something like that. And I was just like, all right, man, because at the time I'm a student of Raketi Yamin, so I wanted to make sure that if I'm going to be reading something that is poetry scholarly, that's going to have text that I can reference. So he informed me that it did, and I went ahead and I got the book. I was a part of a different organization at the time, and I had quite a few questions that were being raised as to the authenticity of the culture of the Nile Valley that was being practiced, and that was by way of starting to learn the Maduneter at the time as well too. So that started to open my eyes when you start to read the text and you start to see things that you aren't that you're practicing that aren't anywhere that can be found. So these types of things, and this is why I had actually some questions about his, having Maru Natir in his book. And so, you know, when I found the book, and I got the book off of Amazon, and I opened it up and I read it, and immediately it was a family. It just let you know it's about the family. You know what I'm saying? And that was interesting because what I was a part of it was supposed, some things talk about family being entanglements and types of fetters and stuff like that. And these were not concepts that I had read in any African African cultural books like that family are considered that. So didn't really seem at home, and it kind of irked me inside. So I was having a battle inside at the time. So it was kind of like my wife she was with it, but she wasn't with it because she's all about family and I too, and these types of red flags, they kind of let her like, nope, not really trying to hear it, not like that. So long story longer, I started delving into remembering Osir, and it was started taking over my some of the things that I was doing in my practice. I started trying to implement it, which from the book at the time. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that, y'all. Make sure you consult with the author before you try to implement anything. Okay. So, needless to say, I did reach out to him with some questions, and he answered them concerning some things I wanted to do. And I had certain netaru with other netaru that it was because at the time I was thinking I was practicing some authentic, and it just wasn't so. And needless to say, we had a few conversations, and I started to get hooked. I started to wane away from the other organization, and started to try to get in where I seen that the family vibe was of the utmost importance. And so my wife was like, oh man, but then when
I was like, we switching again,
Go ahead.
I didn't want to get involved with another group, and I love these people. These are my brothers and sisters now, and then they say my children are fetters, So I was like, I just didn't, want to get involved. So basically that was, he was involved, and then he was like, oh, it's a retreat. And I was like, okay. He was like, I was like, yeah, because we just went on a retreat. And I was like, no, I'm not getting up at 4 o'clock I'm not going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting up at 5 doing yoga. I'm not doing this. Okay, I'm just saying. Anyway, so I was like, no, I ain't doing it. Right. But then he was like, it's by the beach.
Oh, you yoga at 5 o'clock in the morning. Tell it.
And anyway, and I was like, I wasn't gonna do it. I was like, nah. He was like, it's in South Carolina by the beach, and I was like, okay, let's go. So I went, and I fell in love with the Aninsu family. I mean, it was like, these were the coolest people that I didn't know, but I felt like I've known them my entire life. Like, we just all fit in, everything just, it all worked. It was a great experience for me, learning about the culture and just learning about everything. It just opened me up so much, because I'm against religion because of the things I've been through because of religion. So I just went with nothing that was going to be religious and going to church. I wasn't doing none of that. Because I still wanted to be my own person. Wow. I wanted to be a better me, but I was not going to just vamp revamp my whole self for a religion again. But Hinensu was nothing like that. It, everything that I do here is about family. It's all good. It ain't no BS. It's good.
Okay, so the contrast was mentioned, as far as looking at families entanglement as opposed to family being, um, what your religion is, So, I mean, so that's the difference basically, you know, and our journey into this family, if it needs to. Okay.
Okay. Before we go back to you and the clan, Queen Mother and the Sioux, what was it like for y'all basically welcoming families into your family? You know, like welcoming families into your family fold. That's something that y'all birthed together. Y'all was there every step of the way. Y'all seen a lot of come, seen a lot of go. What was it like after the restructuring, the realignment with welcoming in families, into your family, basically?
Let Marie take the lead.
You would call on me, and I'm I was sitting up here like trying to process the question. Um, hmm, I guess I don't know. I feel like I was I don't know. I think that me and Afanu we met in college. So uh if you remember your college years, uh when I commuted, I was still staying at home, but I used to have you know friends over and whatnot to kind of you know kick it and philosophize on different things. But it's kind of like that part of the college culture is about especially when you're young and you're away from home, it's about sharing your resources, pulling your resources, um, and helping one another in a space in your life, a place in your life when you know it's kind of vulnerable. Um, so I guess like when we got together and just years after that was just an extension of that. Um, you know, getting getting those like minds come and kick it. Like I always have enjoyed having family over. Um, I think about how my family on my mom's side is pretty big, and my grandmother and my grandfather had a little tiny house, but they somehow seemed to fit everybody in that little tiny house. And so um, after my grandmother became an ancestor, um, she was kind of like the glue for our family, and after that, naturally everybody kind of branches off and does their own thing. But I always had that image um, as like something to, I guess, kind of embody. So yeah, it was very natural. Like I told Aankhu, when we got together, I recognized, um, you know, that we shared a lot of the same ideas in terms of wanting to uh you know help elevate our family, our people. And I recognize that he was a dynamic speaker. And I kind of felt like as a way of sharing what we received, and um you know him sharing the light that he had, me sharing the light that I had. It's something where, like, when you people do well in organic um spaces, and when it's something where it's natural, you open your home and you break bread with one another, and you share your ideas and pull your resources, like a teacher in a traditional African setting. You have everybody's kind of gathered around this teacher, and they bring in their fruit, and they might have a little, they might not have too much, but they bring what they have, and it just becomes you know a super organism. So um that's kind of like what I felt uh we were in the process of becoming, I guess. So keeping my mind on that, it helped to not get so upset when folk would come in, and you know we might go our separate ways. um you know Even in that, I recognize that we each got out of it what we needed. It's like if you meet somebody on the street and you giving them a ride up the block. You might not have that same destination, but they going in your direction. So you know, you could chat it up when y'all in the car together, and you go your way and they go their way. So um, I've enjoyed every minute of it. Like, um, yeah, my goal going forward is just having more of that, like having more, you know, more family, more, um, you know, brilliant minds to just engage with.
All right. Yo, yo. Can y'all hear me?
To
You too.
Okay, okay. Okay, so, you know, for me, I'm going to say it's, as far as inviting others into the family, right? And, this is something that wasn't always necessarily natural for me, you know. You know, as it is, in the tradition, you have Heteru, right? And Heteru is all about, fun and good times and relationships and, you know, and all of that, right? And but she got another side to her, called Sekhmet, that, she ain't with none of that. She going off on her own and whatnot. But it's normally as a reaction, something has hurt her, or whatever the case may be. So she taking a loner path until balance is restored. So for me, you know that's something that I had to actually, I had to actually grow into that and to overcome some things myself to really open up to people in general. You know what I mean? So with once I got into the tradition though, that work to overcome those things was there. The tools to do that work and to begin that process of healing was presented to me. It was at my disposal. So once I once I got involved in the tradition, and I was able to overcome the hot head that I have, right? And to overcome some of the issues that I was dealing with, you know, it was definitely something that I couldn't hold. Like I had it put a battery in my back. Like I'm like, yo, our people need this. I gotta share this. You know what I mean? And in it, I found my purpose, my calling. And shit, I can't see myself doing anything else. Like, yo, so I can say at this point it is absolutely natural. Yet, some people have come and gone, and that's fine. You got some folk that have come and they ain't going nowhere, and that's even more fine. Like, um we are about family and building families and connecting families and building legacies, building familial ties, and families joining, right, families and building together and whatnot. That's just where I've always been since you know embarking on this particular path. So it's I say, as far as that's the African way. You know what I mean? To reproduce, right? Yourself, to reproduce your knowledge, reproduce your experience, and um this ain't this information that I have, you know, in my head, you know what I mean? That is the legacy of our ancestors. This is something that it's not for me to hold it to myself. So, or just keep it just for my house to have a leg up or whatever. No, this is something that I truly believe it's the purpose of the Benu clan to give the knowledge and the information to as many of our people um that need it, that want it. So, you know, um, it's the greatest joy, right? For me, one of the greatest joys to be able to have other families join the family. You know what I mean? So, you know,
Duanisu. So we can grandmother Maria's, she's available at this time, and we could get her conversation in regards to the church. I think we lost her. So, bear with that. The Mott clan, are y'all ready? Are y'all prepared to give us a play by play?
Sure.
Play by play.
yo, I'm still here too. By the way, I ain't going
Okay.
nowhere.
Okay. You want to
We
start
give
to
you the
finish?
soup.
We hear you.
How about this? How about I piggyback off of Nisu when because he's tour leader. He had to explain um sites and
Okay.
we talk about our experiences, Adam.
Yeah.
All right.
That's cool.
So, um, if you could lay out kind of like expectations of the trip. I know we didn't had several conversations, and every time a tour comes up, I kind of ask you, similar questions. But with each trip, what are some of the things that you get? Um, is there a running theme with each, home going, or is there, specificity that goes along with each, trip? I know you shared the first trip, with us, and you went out there on faith. You understand, as the old folks would say, you stepped down on faith. So as each trip, time you go home, what are some of the things that you have, and how do you speak to some of the expectations that people have, you know, as folks going on the tour?
Okay. All right. So, you know, I've been to Kemet 7 times now, right? July will be number 8 for me, right? And then December number 9, right? Um, every single pilgrimage, the theme never changes, right? It's the purpose of the tour, right? So it's always exploring the Kemetic, tradition or Nile Valley tradition in its African context. And that might sound like like a like a what's the word I'm looking for? A redundant statement to folk that know, but as evident from a lot of the ignorant talk that's floating through the conscious community, quote unquote, today. It's not, we can't be, you know, too redundant. So I gotta say it like that. We exploring the Nile Valley culture and spiritual traditions in its African context, and the focal point is dealing with the cultural continuity and kinship, of African, traditions, right? So following the thread from the Nile Valley and connecting it, to the rest of the African family throughout the continent. And so, that's one of the things that sets the tour apart. You know, it's not something where we're going and you're just looking at, a bunch of monuments and looking at, a bunch of relics, and you're not getting an understanding of the culture and the traditions, in an authentic way. We can actually read the Session Medunitaire, right? We can read it from the walls, from the papyri, etc., so on. You're going to get an understanding of the Neteru, understanding of the temple and why it's built, where it's built, how it's built. You know what I mean, and the significance of each part and things of that nature. So this is something that makes the tour, unique in that way. On top of that, we also because our focal point is also the reconstruction of the culture and the traditions. We do actually make the effort to connect with the Africans that are still there in the Nile Valley. The Nubians, the practitioners of the Zar tradition. We make the effort to connect with them, spend time with them, live amongst them, etc., so on, in order to learn the culture and the traditions that they have retained. Right. So that in and of itself is what makes the Kukim Kemet tour unique. Okay. You know what I mean? Besides that, I can say we're pretty consistent in terms of the theme. We used to do it just once a year. Now it happens twice a year, 15 days in July and 1 week, 7 days in December. Okay.
All right. So can we break down the experience in two? So since we have uh, family here that's been on both July and December. Can we kind of break down the difference in between the two? Aside from the days, the obvious thing, the day, the
Yes, sir.
days.
Yes, sir, for sure. Okay, so you know, in July, right? Because we have, more time, we cover more sites. It's not as rushed. We're not as rushing as far as us trying to see as much as we can in as little as time, little amount of time that we can. Um, you know, we can actually take our time and see more. So some of the major differences, let's say outside of where we actually begin. Um, we we also, let's say in July, we go to Abydos, we go to Dendera, we go to Abu Simbel, um, temples as well. And, we may even throw in like some rainy apps like Medinat Habu, Elephantine, Island Temple, etc. So on. But it's more sites included, and then also we actually stay in the Nubian village. One of the Nubian villages, normally Garib Sahel, Nubian village. This past trip, December, we actually stayed in Elephantine Island, which was the first time for me. But for the 15-day trip, we stayed like 4 days um, in the Nubian village, right? So that's a big difference. Normally, we don't stay in the village for the for the December trip. So this past December was a first for that trip where we actually stayed in Elephantine Island. So that was a nice you know point of departure from the norm. But normally that's another difference. So longer stay or an actual stay and stay for a couple of days in the Nubian village in Aswan for the July trip. Being able to spend an extended amount of time with the Nubian family there, with the elders and things of that nature, and you know seeing more spots as far as Abydos, Temple of Seti the First, which is called the Osirian, very important temple as pertains to the Nile Valley tradition of ancestral veneration. And also the Temple of Het Heru in Dendera. That's another temple that's included in the July trip. And then in Abu Simbel, we visit the temple of Raherukuti and the temple of Het Heru, right, which was dedicated to Ramesu II and his Hamat Nesu Warid Nefertari. Okay, so that's the big difference, right? And it's 15 days. Whereas with the 1 week trip, we start in Cairo, but then after Cairo, we go straight to Aswan, and then we visit the temples in Aswan, which is primarily the Temple of Aset, the Island of Philae, and the Nubian Museum. And then after that, we check into a cruise, right? We visit the Nubian village, for several hours, but we normally don't stay, right? But after that, we check into a cruise and we sail down the Nile, which is upwards, northern, right? The northern direction, down the Nile, into Luxor, which stops in Komombo and Edfu. Okay, so that's some of the differences. Whereas with the 2 week trip, we start in Cairo, and then after we handle business in Cairo, we fly to Luxor, and then we take the cruise from Luxor up the Nile, south to Aswan, and then we have an excursion to Abu Simbel, right? Long drives and whatnot. So that's a big difference, but both of them are action packed, and both of them will definitely impart an experience that you'll never ever forget. You're gonna learn things. You're gonna see things that you never seen before in your life. Learn things you never ever knew. And I haven't had anybody that has gone over there on any trip that hasn't come back with a greater sense of purpose and calling. They come back with a battery in their back as far as what they're to do, right? And then you have folk that go over there and then they end up moving over there, right? They end up trying to figure out how they can live there and things of that nature. So especially after Aswan, right? So um, it's a magnificent experience, right? I definitely recommend it. Not just because it's my tour, but if you want an authentic, organic experience, um, you know, and you want to really really understand this culture and this tradition, and you want to sit with elders that still practice the traditions and whatnot, then this is the tour that you need to be on, right? So that's the major difference. Itinerary outside of the temples, the three temples that I mentioned, the itinerary is pretty much the same as far as the sites that we actually visit. So we go to Giza, see the Great Pyramid of Khufu, and then of course the pyramids of his son and his grandson, uh, Koefra and Menkaura, and then we also visit the Saqqara monuments, the Tomb of Wanis, Gimini, Step Pyramid of Neterkat or Djoser, right, built by Imhotep, right? So, designed by Imhotep. So we have, uh, this part, right? So that's Cairo, and then also we visit, um,
We stay in
the
Cairo real quick, Nasuk, so I can get their reactions because we was gonna go, by location. So, um, did they? Did the people? Did the Maya clan that went in December? Did they go to the same places? This place right
yeah.
here.
Right,
Okay.
right. So yeah, but before we ain't out of Cairo yet. So last
Okay.
thing,
My bad.
for Cairo, we also visited the Egyptian Museum, right, the Cairo Museum, and then also we visited the um I say the Czar practitioners, Mazahert. We visit, to see their performance of the traditional Czar music and whatnot, and so that's as far as what was on itinerary in Cairo, that's what we did, right? So yeah, we can get into Cairo, if y'all ready, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna read back that.
Mm,
Whomever would like to go first, just need to know. So that way, all eyes
okay.
on you.
Mm,
There we
all
go.
right.
There we go. All right. There we go.
Yeah, Cairo was different, right? Traffic was, man, like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, living in New York, it has nothing compared to Cairo. The traffic to the sites was an adventure within itself. You know, um, I mean, when we first went to the sites, first site, you start with you, what? Start with the ancestors. You know, um, we went up in there and what's the temple we got there? The I can't remember.
I don't remember the name of the first temple, Nisu, that we went to.
Okay, so we started in Saqqara, right?
Sakara, right?
Okay, so the Saqqara complex. And the very first, you know, tomb that we went into, I want to say was Kagimini, right? It wasn't Juanis. We Juanis was like the third or fourth, you know, tomb that we went into.
Okay.
Okay, but the Sakara complex, that was the first one we went to.
That's not it.
Yes.
That's not it. Excuse
Oh, okay. Keep that.
Yeah. So, um, well, the Medu Neter was all over the place. There's no way that we would have had time to go over like even a fourth of. Yeah.
Talking about this one. That was the first place we went to.
You can see it. You
Yeah,
see it?
that's a step pyramid.
Was that the first place we went to?
Yeah, that's at Sakara too.
So, I mean, the site itself, like I said, the imagery in books has nothing on the experience itself. I
Yeah.
mean, the words to explain what you're seeing, it's there are none. I mean, it wasn't that long of stop because like Lisa was saying, the trip that we took was in December one, and so it's not a thing wherein when when I heard another brother break down his December trip, I was wondering, what do you mean you can't really, you didn't really get to see, and spend that much time. But it's so packed with so many things that you got to see that when we went to the different sites, um, we didn't have the time that
Did you did you
that
learn?
the July one we had, where we can.
Because it's so massive, but it was. I mean, we saw so much. I mean, it was.
But the thing is, it's like it's
It
not,
was awesome.
it's like a tour that, tours and people are there with you. So it's not a thing where you can just,
Oh, it was a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
where you could just, stand around and, do what you would think you could do, had you not gone. That's what I was thinking. When the brother was telling me because the brother, another brother had asked him, he was on, he's asking him like, well, what did you see? He's like, well, you see it, but you don't really, you can't really absorb it in like you would had you had more time to go back or to stay at the site because of the length of the tour and the amount of things you have to do. You get what I'm saying?
It would take years to see everything. It's so much, and you want to spend time looking at these images and studying them.
And the people, these guys, they would be careful when you go out there. They try to hustle you when you go into these spots. They'll try to act like they're your friends, like they just want to walk with you around and show you stuff, or like they want you to take a picture with them to show that you've been there. And then before you try to walk away, they sticking out their hands like, and you like, what do you mean? You just wanted to take a picture. I got to pay you because you asked me to take a picture. Yes. So do not fall for that, please.
And the children are so cute, and they will hustle you better than the grown people.
And that's everywhere. But yeah, all of the sites in Cairo were phenomenal. All of the sites everywhere were phenomenal. The museum was.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was huge.
It was huge. It was massive. I mean, they had tombs and all kinds of artifacts. It was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, I don't think you could even do the museum in a day. It would take several days it would probably take weeks to go to that museum. It was huge.
I think when we went, we had maybe about an hour and some hours and change, and we didn't. I mean, we didn't really get to cover too much because it was just so massive. And
Yeah.
you want to stop and look and take pictures and read and translate, and it's so many people in there. My goodness, Cairo, like I said, Cairo has 18 million people. So I mean, it's a lot of tourists, a lot of tourism out there. So the museum was awesome, though. I mean,
it was amazing.
how many days you get to? I mean, how long do you get to stay if you take the 2 week trip
15.
Well, shoot, I
at
say,
the museum type thing? Like, because we only got like an hour, and people that might seem like a long time, but it's not.
yeah, I say for that 2 week trip, we're in Cairo for like 4 days.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you got time to double back. You got time to really, to really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. But it was. I mean, the city was live. I mean, the city was live. It was very.
The hotel was really
What is it?
nice too.
Yeah, but yeah, the hotel was nice. The staff there, they were really accommodating. Um, they kept the place very clean. Breakfast every morning, very different breakfast than what we are used to here.
But it was very healthy.
Very healthy, yes. Fiber and protein.
There were a lot of places to shop. I mean, oh my goodness. We bought another bag to come home because we had so much stuff. But it's so many places to shop. I mean, everywhere is a shopping place and somebody trying to sell you something. And a lot of stuff they make themselves. It was really nice. Going to like the perfume factory, the papyrus factory,
Mhm.
that and
The
the cotton
perfume
and the
factory.
cotton
My
store.
goodness.
The cotton store was awesome. Behudek got 2 shirts that he wanted, but he wanted them short sleeve. Dude cut them and sold them while he was in the store. And they
What?
served them hibiscus tea and water. They were very hospitable.
Mm.
Very, very, very.
Yeah. And we had
And they not acknowledge that we are family as well. That's the crazy part, is that
we had a
they treated us
GTA
very
5
well.
driver though, Bob. Bob was driving like he had been driving in GTA. I mean, he could drive. Bob could drive.
Yeah, we got into an accident with Bob though, but it wasn't Bob's fault. I think Bob had just parked, right?
We were just pulling out.
We were just about to pull off, and somebody. I mean, because the traffic out there. I keep talking about the traffic.
The traffic
Man.
is insane. There's nobody's traffic like that. That traffic is insane. Like the whole time you were driving or you were riding, because you
It was
would
an
not be
adrenaline rush
driving
the
over
whole
there.
time.
You would not drive there. You will not. You probably don't even want to walk too much, but that ain't on the sidewalks, maybe.
Well, let's talk about the perfume factory. The perfume factory was very educational because we learned so much about oils that we did not know.
Oils are very, yeah. We got mint oil for congestion and migraines. They have migraines and headaches, and it works very well. Put it in a
and
diffuser.
It's actually, if you're getting you some Vicks, it's coming from according to the spot that we came from, they ship out to a large variety of suppliers.
Yes.
And they'll take their products and use portions of it for the products that you get from Nike, Vicks, and the likes. So, but what they also said was that you could tell the real oil from
the fake oil.
The fake oil, by the way it absorbs into your skin. It's not supposed to be oily on your skin at all. It's supposed to absorb, and most oils don't. That's why you have such shininess with it, because it's not absorbing into your skin. I didn't know that, so I was greased up for nothing.
Now, when we flew from Cairo to Aswan,
mm-hmm.
and just be prepared for all those 1,000 security checks because it's happening.
And like she said, we got another suitcase.
Yeah. Anyway, um, we flew to Aswan, and Aswan is so beautiful. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful. It is one of the most beautifulest places I've ever seen.
Beautiful.
And yeah, that word, And Aswan, the people in Aswan were so cool. It was like these were some of the coolest people. Here's a picture of Aswan.
Oh man.
You stop moving. I got this. That's Aswan. It looked like some
Postcard.
beach destination getaway down there. It's beautiful. It is so beautiful. And we rode boats a lot while we were in Aswan. Um
Tell them what happened when we was out partying too late. What happened?
yeah, we was out too late and we missed all the ferries that go back across to where we were staying. And this guy seen us and he took us
No,
across.
you gotta explain it. You gotta explain
Oh, because it was dark. It
it. It was like
late.
1 o'clock in the morning.
It was really late. And dude saw us stranded. He came over and he took us to the other side. And they tried to pay him and he was like, no, he didn't want that. He just wanted what is it, a high five or dab or hug or something.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anything. He said he didn't want anything. He just wanted to help
He
us.
told us
'cause he
that's not
saw-
his work boat. That's his
yeah,
home
he
boat.
said that was his personal boat. He said he has a boat. He don't want our money. I was just trying to help, and he did, and that was so cool. And also, I got mad shopping. Oh my goodness, that marketplace. Ooh, it will drive you insane. It's so many places. And I'm just say this: if you saw it one time, you will see it again. So don't think you ain't gonna see this again. You're gonna see it somewhere else. And I mean, they got a lot of variety of things, but you're gonna see some of the same stuff, which is cool though, because you missed it somewhere else, you can see it somewhere else. It's lots of shopping. So, oh my goodness, if you want to go shopping, go to Aswan because it's awesome. And then we went on a cruise. The cruise after we left Aswan, we went to the cruise, and oh my goodness, that was awesome. And I've never been on a cruise because I get very motion sick, so I didn't want to do it, but it was so nice. It was so cool. I mean, like the whole setup of the cruise was just awesome. It was really clean. It was awesome. It was really nice. And for
First
that,
cruise.
yeah, my first cruise
Mine
was
too.
up the Nile, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was very awesome. I mean, it was just like, and then they got shopping on the cruise too, so be careful. Yeah, and bring your own water bottles, okay? I I think they don't want you to, but I've seen a lot of people bringing water in there, and I was like, because if you don't, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for everything you drinking, including water. The food was pretty cool on the cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some of their ethnic food, so yeah, that was some stuff we didn't eat, but it was cool.
Yo,
Yes, sir.
okay. I thought it was me. But, I'm reading now. If you available,
It's all right. Um, so city by city, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Close that for me. Okay. Ooh. after a while, it just kind of all jumbles up into one big massive trip. But one of the most memorable parts of Cairo, I think, other than the traffic and um, the large amount of people, was the heat. And that's probably one of the biggest differences between, I think, between the July trip and the December trip. Other than the length and some of the uh, sites, is the heat. There's absolutely no way you can prepare for the heat. It's hot as hell. So, um, you know, definitely, I would advise anybody who's thinking about going to, if you're not sure of how to dress, uh, bring extra spending money with you because you can find quality cotton outfits that will definitely ease the burden. um, Making sure you wear light cotton outfits is the best. Don't do like I did and wear jeans. Um, I was kind of nervous about what to, well, not really nervous, but not sure about what to wear, um, because it's in a Islamic territory. And, other than on the cruise ship, you're not really, as a man, you can't wear shorts. As a woman, you can't wear, you don't want to wear tanks or spaghetti straps or camis or anything that's really going to give you some kind of reprieve from the heat. Um, but I think Cairo, like Uncle Benu shared, I think we were there for maybe, yeah, 3 or 4 days. And those 3 or 4 days, they are packed tight. But I do remember, um, that was this was my first time being away from uh my itty bitty like that, my babies. So I spent a lot of time like just the first couple of days in Cairo, kind of trying to process it all and stay out of my head so I wouldn't be worrying about uh them. Um, but yeah, Cairo is overwhelming. Like there's no words to really describe it. Um, I was still that at least that first day definitely trying to process like I'm here, y'all, and that coupled with the jet lag, coupled with um the heat and the glare of the sun, like that sun, there is nothing like African sun, like the way that it hits everything, the ground, the rocks, like it's just glaring. So you got to bring your sunglasses. Um, as far as the sites go, I definitely had to choke back some tears when standing in front of the pyramid of Giza. Just, I think that's when it really like hit me, like I'm actually here. And then to see the features on the Herta maquette and like just the cheekbones and like there was no denying that you're looking at an African. Um, and so I really, that really hit me. Um, Going into Saqqara, um, it was also a little tear jerking for me because um, one of the things that struck me was the reverence that we have for these monuments. I You don't see it from, you know, the folk there because, you know, it's an Islamic territory. So there's not a lot of respect uh, amongst, you know, the Arab culture for these monuments. Um, and so when we went to like Saqqara, it was trash, paper bags and plastic bags, a lot of plastic just floating um, in the air, looking almost like balloons on the ground at the sites. Um, there wasn't really a garbage bin or anywhere to put those. So anytime that anybody, because you got to drink water, anytime that anybody is out, trying to hydrate, they just threw it on the ground. Um, and so that was a little difficult for me. Um, what else? Yeah, just the first 3 days you definitely need if you're going in July to kind of take it all in. Um, and is one to where, because the itinerary is so full, um, it you got to find the time, even if it's just being in your own head while uh, you know in the van, in the little transportation van that we were getting around in. Duanater, the vans had AC, y'all. They had AC. If you going over there or you nervous about whether or not they gonna have AC, they have AC in the whips. So that, yes, that definitely helped. Um, you know, one of the things too that uh, I suggest when you're packing is making sure that you pack what you need, but don't bring any uh, excessive stuff because you're gonna pick up more, and you're gonna at least want a bag to carry your water and your passport everywhere you go. There's lots of security checkpoints, so you want to definitely make sure that you have a bag to carry your water and your passport and important documents on you. Um, but yeah, one of the other memorable things was we went during um know, I think they had a soccer cup going on. Uh,
Yeah, Africa World
and
Cup.
right. So they take that seriously, y'all. Like everywhere outside of the US, folks are serious about soccer. So, we looking like we look and being more melanated than the majority of the folk in Cairo, because Cairo is closer to uh, the Arab world. Um, a lot of folk thought, we was coming from Sudan, because at the time I think Sudan had made it to the playoffs. Um,
Senegal.
Senegal, I'm saying Sudan, Senegal. Open up the dress. So I think it was Senegal and Algeria, maybe. But of course, like, we want the most melanated team to dominate. So we like, yeah, Senegal, Senegal. Taking pictures with the with the folk. some of the folk had come from Algeria to participate in the match, because it was actually being hosted, I think in Cairo. So that was fun. Um, just seeing everybody get hype about that. Um, Trying to think of what else. By the time we got to Luxor, I'll say that was refreshing, because just seeing the green, like in Cairo, you're not going to see that much green. Um, is a lot of people and a lot of sand. Um, so Luxor, that's when you really get to see. Oh, this is also where, like, the way that the Nile looks, the Hopi looks in Cairo compared to Luxor, like, is completely different body of water. Because in Cairo, naturally is more polluted. There's a lot of folk, they throwing their trash in there, and run off from vehicles and whatnot, like, gets in the water. In Luxor, like, it's lush, it's beautiful. The river is just, there's no words for it. Um, and we Luxor is fairly big, but from the airport to uh, where our hotel was, we got to travel um, right down the Hopi. So I was kind of getting kind of emotional and seeing that, like, this is what it's supposed to look like from the pictures, and, like, this is, seeing how they used it to, um, the uh, folk who lived in Luxor, seeing how they used it to irrigate their gardens. That was eye opening. Um, and just, I like to people watch, so seeing how um, they would wake up from sun up, be working till it got real hot, and then they come back out later in the evening. Um, and they would always have, like, uh, a donkey or a horse to kind of help them do their work when they were doing gardening and whatnot. Um, so yeah, those animals kind of double as their pets, but also their work partners. Um, and what else? Oh my goodness, when we got to the temple of Hatshepsut, that I did not expect to have the reaction that I did. Um, and just definitely feeling, empowered. Um, and it was one where I could definitely feel her presence and feel she has, part of the temple is very, uh, you know, even in spite of age, is very well kept. So you can still make out, a lot of the color. Um, Seeing her the part where she's kind of dedicated to her father, seeing that part of the temple was awe inspiring. Um, and I really got, kind of choked up. But when we went into, she has a part where it's dedicated to Haru. We went into there, like, forces was talking to me, y'all. I'm just gonna say that. And I had to make sure that I had my team with me to uh, be supported so that I would not, pass out in 115, 120-degree weather. Um, but yeah, that was, that was just breathtaking. Um, when we went into Aswan, before that we went to Edfu, and Edfu was, um, Edfu was, it was. I said before that I actually really loved Edfu. But for reasons other than the temple of Behudet, because that's where you'll find that. Um, I felt comfortable and at home, because the people they had so much like swag. Um, when you're in Cairo, when you're in Luxor, uh, you do see, you know, a lot of you do see youth, but it's a lot of elders. Um, so it's kind of a mixed um, demographics. But Edfu, there's a lot of young folk, and one of the pluses about it is that most of them speak English. So say when you're in Cairo, like even though Cairo gets a lot of traffic from the Western world, um, most of the folks speak Arabic. So when you need something, unless you speak Arabic, you're gonna have to find somebody to translate. Um, in Edfu, it was much easier to find somebody that spoke English. Um, and like we got there at night, and we traveled by cruise. So you know, it was live. Like they had their music blasting, folks was out, the men was out, smoking hookah, playing chess, and it looked like any other hood. Um, I enjoyed Edfu. When we went into, the temple the next day, of Behudet, it's almost like you could see the actual force there, where Behudet is this, you know, martial force. So um, that force manifests in the environment. Um, we had to go through extra security to get in, and some of the folk was just extra, uh, kind of bickering and fussing amongst themselves. Um, One of the things that I saw now, surprisingly, I didn't see too many bugs there. Like that was one of my concerns. Like I was afraid that I was gonna see a whole bunch of bugs over there, like, and get bit by some mosquitoes. But I did not see really any bugs at all. Didn't really get bit, even being on the water. Um, what I did see while we were in, the Temple of Behudet were assassin bugs. Like if y'all don't know, y'all can just go Google what they are. They look almost like little camel cricket type spider looking things, that they actually uh, bite. They kill other insects. They don't bite people unless provoked. But what they do is like a spider, they will liquefy the insides of, other bugs, and they move almost like a team, like an army. They travel together, like in a group. So it's something to see, like something weird to see when you actually realize what you're looking at. Um, but these things were like all over at this site. So I net your rock because I knew when I seen them, I was like, yeah, the this is the part of acknowledging the presence of this Neter. Um, you know, I remember seeing that was actually in on the island of Philae. Once we got to go to Set's temple, now that was that was moving. Like you see Set as you're traveling on the water, like it's so blue and it's so peaceful and just I definitely had a moment on that, you know, on the little what do you call them? The little boat. It's kind of like a gondola, but I can't think of what it's called. The little boat traveling because you have to take the water to get to the actual site. There's no way you can walk over there. And hearing the story about how this temple was actually in another location, and because of the building of the dam, the Aswan Dam, which kind of, you know, displaced the people and destroyed a lot of the cultural capital and these artifacts. Um, Hearing that story and seeing this site in front of me like that, um, it really brought home a message of survival in spite of the odds. And this is what Offset is like. Um, she is the African woman who is a survivor and who is committed to the survival of her people. Um, and so, like, I was seeing it and looking at the temple and the state that it was in. Like, we learned, um, that a lot of, when you walk up, you'll see like bullet holes in in some of the headdresses on the walls. Some of the headdresses on the Natera that are depicted on the walls. You'll see places where they used the faces as target practice or as places to sharpen their tools. The Greeks came in and did this, and then the French after them, because they were threatened by these African, forces, and got help from, you know, Muslim forces because, they naturally this was seen as an uh, enemy and an invasive culture. So, and they were scared of them. So they would, they did a number on the faces and the depictions. And seeing that, that kind of it had me hot, y'all, hotter than the heat of the sun over there. And so I had to kind of pull out and kind of stop and sit down and take a moment because just to process everything and to cool myself off. Um, but I also saw, Offset present and some of the caretakers that were there. There was a lot of, just like I saw, the assassin bugs present at the temple of Behudet. You could, for whatever reason, there was so many cats at, you know, this temple of Offset in Philae. There were a lot of cats, and the caretakers of the actual temple were actually taking care of these cats. So they were using their offset to, nurture and care for these cats. Bring it here. Um, and so that was, that was, it kind of had me catching my breath a little bit too, just to see how in everything, these forces are living. They're not, it's not a dead tradition like some folk will have you believe, um, by any means. And it's ingrained in every aspect of the material culture, in the people. Um, and you'll see that when you go, like, um, I mean, you'll feel it in you as well, almost like these forces are trying to, possess, or like you're harnessing them. Um, I really felt that at the Valley of the Kings as well. That that was intense. Um, where we're kind of making a descent into the mountains to go into these resting places for the Nisu. And I had some reservations about it because I'm like, just the idea of opening up, these resting places to a foreign eye, somebody who, not so much for an initiate or somebody who is coming in to commune and learn with the force, but for, you know people who just want to, you know just want to put their eyes on it, just for nothing. um I had some problems with it. I have problems with that. um but it was going in there. I felt like, I got a message, um of Aankhu. He talked about, everybody kind of left and left with a battery in their back. Like I felt renewed coming out of there, almost as if these forces were coming back out with us, upon our exit, in sort of a, you know reincarnation type of thing. And so, um, that part, um, I'm still digesting the fullness of that particular excursion. But then all of it, once we got into Aswan, it all started making more sense. Um, and that's when you really get to see how alive the tradition is. Um, because the people of Aswan, the Nubians, they still practice. Um, it's something where what they've taken it and they've done, uh, what I'll say, you know, Haitians have done, or the people of New Orleans have done with Catholicism. They've couched it and they fused it. Their, you know uh, traditional spiritual practices. They fused it with Islam, um, but they still, they're very, very, very intentional about how they do certain things, and very much aware of the, I guess, the pedigree of their practice. Um, and so that part was good for me to be able to see that. And I know I'm leaving some stuff out, but you know, it's a lot. Like, there, people could tell you whatever, um, but when you go, like, y'all got to go. When you go, you get to see exactly what we mean when we say words cannot, it cannot be put into words. Um, and you'll get a whole new understanding for yourself.
All right, all right. Nasu, did you want to go to anything else that somebody wanted to add?
Shit, I say Marie covered from Cairo down to Aswan and Luxor and some more. You know what I'm saying? So shit ain't no. I say the only location she didn't touch was Apple Symbol. You know,
Right open
um,
closing.
I left
you
out common
know,
bowl too.
okay, and come on board, right? So this is my thing, right? Um, as far as the play by play goes, let me talk about some of my favorite spots, right? For Cairo, and also let me talk about I guess the reason why we organize things, in the way that we do. Okay, so beginning with Cairo, right? We start always on the West Bank because it's appropriate, in African traditions to begin with your ancestors before you approach the Neteru, right? Or before you approach the Orisha or Abosom, Voodoo, etc. So on, you should work with your ancestors and make sure that your ancestors are good first, right? So we always start with the ancestors. We start with Saqqara. We start with Giza and whatnot. As far as Cairo goes, the museum, you know, um, and that's always important. That's always special. That's always you know, helping us to maintain the integrity as far as the pilgrimage goes, and often, you'll see me pouring water, at the mouth of the tombs and things of that nature for the ka of those ancestors before we go in. Now, as far as my favorite location and experience in Cairo is the czar performance. um for me, that's the most special thing. That's the thing for me that I would say, as far as continuing to go, it's on par with the experience in the Nubian Museum, being able to connect with the Africans that are there, and getting, learning the traditions that they've retained, right? So the czar performance, that's in Cairo, right? And it's very, very special for me. Okay, that's something that's including both the July and the December tour. But that part right there, um, that's up there for like my favorite thing with the whole trip, right? But from Cairo, you know, let's say if we're hitting Luxor next, for the summer. Of course, the Valley of the Kings. That's my special. That's my favorite place in Luxor. The Temple of Luxor is, you know, gigantic. The I say Karnak complex is massive. It's ridiculous, right? Um, but the Valley of the Kings, that's where, for me, it's very important, to take that journey through the spirit world, through the Duat, through Neterkeret, right? Through Yamintet, with the ancestor on their journey with and as Ra, right? To rise again in the east, right? um, you know, to come forth by day, as they say, Pertim Hira, right? That's a very, very important you know, very important site for me. Few things though. In Cairo, right? We went into the tomb of Wanis, right? The Suwanis, and you know, to see the pyramid text, right? The oldest one that we have on record, right? To see the pyramid text of the Osir Wanis, right? Makaru, and to, you know, this is something that for many of us, right? We've only seen, on paper. We've only seen facsimiles. We've only seen photographs and things of that nature. But to actually go in there and to see, the oldest spiritual text in the world that we have on record, to see it in real time, to see it and to be in that place, that was special. Um, you know, from, let's say, from Cairo again, right? Luxor, the Valley of the Kings. I also love the Temple of Seti the First, the Osirian Temple. I love the Temple of Het Heru and Dendera, right? I love all of it, right? So, like I said, I'm about to be on my eighth trip. You know what I mean? And each and every location has something special for me. Um, but the most important parts of the trip for me, after visiting all of the sacred sites and learning the traditions, sharing the traditions and the cosmologies and the rituals, and explaining many of these things, in the place where our ancestors studied, in the place where they laid it down, in the place where they kept the shrines of the Neteru, and made their offerings and their sacrifices and performed divination. And this is a very, very important experience. It's enriching. Like, my life has been enriched from the experience. Um Marie, how you say, she didn't tell the whole thing, but she got possessed in Hatshepsut's temple in the in Heteru's shrine, right? And I had to carry her ass up out of there, what I'm saying, walk her out real quick before somebody called wind of it. But that's what she was alluding to. I'm gonna put her on full blast, right? But you know, so that energy, as she was saying, those forces and whatnot is still present. You know what I mean? And for our people, when we go, we're actually able to still pick up on that, tap into it and whatnot. I tell folk every year, it's like, yo, we getting ready to go in Behu, that's temple. Be mindful of yourself. This is the Natal of war. If you feel yourself on one while we're there, or get ready to go on one as we're leaving there, just know what it is. And it happened like clockwork every time. Either while there or as we leaving, somebody get into a little spat or argument of this, that, and the third. So you know it's a very, very um powerful experience. And as Behudet was saying, Behudet Mott was saying earlier, it's so much. Every single tomb, every single temple is inscribed. Every single inch of it is inscribed with Medunater. So it's impossible, even in 2 weeks, to take in the entire. You would need, as Walter Ritt was saying, years to probably really deal with an entire temple. And this is something that universities actually do. They take up projects, like an Edfu project, where they spent the last decade, dealing with the temple of Edfu. And this is an ongoing work. So you know, it's so much to see, right? And it's very important. Um, but the most important parts of the trip for me is connecting with the Africans there, connecting with the Zara practitioners, connecting with the Nubian family in the, in the village, and really building those relationships and maintaining those relationships and deepening them and learning the things that they've retained from their ancestors and their elders, right? So um that's important, right? That's important for me. Right. Yo, the folk, I say the folk in the YouTube though, you know what I'm saying? If y'all got any questions or comments or anything like that, you know what I'm saying, pose them joints. We taking questions too. You know what I mean? But yeah. As far as the play by play, the other, I say the thing that kind of drives everything home for the December trip is Abu Simbel, which is where we normally end. We end the trip with Abu Simbel, and that ride down there, it's like 6 to 8 hours total drive time. That's round trip. I'm saying, and um, once you get there, right, you see Lake Nasser, which is a man-made lake that was made as a result, formed as a result of the construction of the Aswan Dam. And underneath that lake, it's like buku crocodiles, right? And then also the actual uh the remnants of the Nubian civilization and their villages and homes and things that nature still underwater. So, coming out of New Orleans, you know what I mean, and dealing with Katrina and things of that nature, there's definitely a resonance and an empathy that I have for the Nubian people and what it is that they've had to go through because you know um to this day, New Orleans ain't the same place for real, right? And I know that they had to, the Nubians, they had to pick up the pieces when they went through what they went through, and their struggle. Africans here in the diaspora, we should definitely be able to relate to their struggle and the oppression that they have to deal with, right? Um, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? I was told back in July that there was once a time when the Nubians pretty much they had from Luxor on down through the Sudan. It was pretty much them, right? All them. Um, and then, certain things happened that, moved them either further north or moved them south, etc. So on. And this is not, we're not talking ancient time, right? So there's a lot of misconceptions about Kemet and what it is today. You know what I mean? But the Nubian people, they know who they are. And they know that, what I'm saying? They know, what the ancestors did and their connection to them. And they are also um pan Africanists, and they want to, as they said, they are feeling people. They want to establish friendships and familial ties with the Africans, right, throughout the continent and the diaspora. We see ourselves as one family. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing for me, right? And learning the traditions. All right. Um, I see a question on the screen. Yo, Born, can we take some of these questions?
With you, that's why I put it up there in the soup. Before we get into the other part of the question that I have a question since we right there. But I'll give you these both of these questions right now.
Okay. So start with, and Uncle Justin there, Taji, see you in the building. All right. So the first question regarding the czar initiation in the future. Um Understanding the nature of czar, you know, I say if it's just for me when it comes to an initiation in any other tradition, that's it's totally dependent on the necessity and divination and among other things, right? So there are some other traditions that I did get, I'm saying, okay, if the opportunity presents itself, when the opportunity presents itself, that's one, you may want to pursue. But as far as the czar goes, um yeah, at in my mind's eye, definitely I want to establish a relationship with the Mama Czar, right? I would like to learn as much that I can, right? But as far as going in and being initiated, it's one of those things where, okay, Czar is mostly for folk that are possessed by Czar, okay? And normally they're sick some kind of way, right? And they go to the doctors, and the doctors, the modern doctors and whatnot can't crack the code on what's going on with them, so they end up going to the to Czar, and they crack the code for them, and they're able to solve their problem through the initiation and whatnot. Um, there's a lot of overlap and things that have been retained as far as the uh ancient Comedi tradition and certain czar practices, right? That I would definitely learn to love more, to learn more, love to learn more about, and love to get some of their insight and their perspectives on it, you know. And if there's a way for me to do that, I'm damn sure going to do it. That's why I'm going every year and making it my intention to make sure that we go to the czar, uh you know so to the czar performance, and um embrace the elder there, take a picture with her, show her the picture from this year, picture from the year before, make sure that she don't forget, what I'm saying, don't forget us. And so next time, she keeps seeing us and whatnot, we're we're getting closer, right? So that's um that's my that's my take on that. It's a little difficult too, to kind of further answer your question. Czar, I want to make sure this is clear. Czar is actually illegal in Kemet, in Egypt, right? So their practice of the actual tradition is, secret, right? It's hush hush. If it's going down, they're not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it because the practice of the tradition has been banned. So where we go to see them and to meet them is a cultural center that has been formed to preserve the culture, specifically the music of traditional music, traditional art forms in Kemet, right? So but the actual practice of the spiritual tradition or quote unquote religion has been outlawed. It is banned. You know what I mean? I want to say that happened in the 2000s sometimes. It wasn't a whole long time ago. It's relatively late. Um, that actually took place. You know what I mean? So you know, it's a thing of establishing them relationships so that you can get, that inside scoop. You got to keep going back in order to do that, you know. And in regards to the gators, right? From what I understand, those gators got trapped on that side of the dam, right? So there aren't as many on the on the Aswan side, from Aswan on up to through Cairo and all of that. There aren't that many gators. All of them have been trapped on the side of the dam heading towards the Abu Simbel and Sudan. Were they trapped or transported? I can't say for sure, right? It is it's damn so interesting though. Makes you say, right? But yeah, that's where they at, like in mass.
Okay, Nasood, did anybody else want to add anything before we transition to this next question?
Shoot, I'm ready to rock.
Ready
I
to rock?
say, I'm ready to rock. So if anybody else got anything they want to say on the trip, feel free to do so because we gotta talk about some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
You
let's
know,
get hot, Nasood. Let's get hot on that.
you
Um,
know.
and I can frame a question, and then you can just go wherever you want to go. With all of the sights and the sounds, we spent almost 2 hours now going through the play-by-play, and people recounting experiences on their fact-finding mission, this pilgrimage. Everybody was coerced. I don't think you had no magic pocket watch out there hypnotizing. You see what I'm saying? In regards to their experience. So how in the world could we see what we see present day conscious community saying that this tradition is dead? Uh, this is not happening. Can we unpack that? Can we get into that? Like, where would something like that come from? We got time
Well,
today, so we got time.
okay, okay. Well, yeah, yeah, definitely. And I say it's a another thing, right? They're also saying that Africans, you know, in the diaspora, Africans in West Africa or sub-Saharan Africans, right? West Africans, Central Africans, you know what I'm saying? Southern Africans, East Africans. Pretty much any African south of the Sahara, we have no connection to Kemet. Right? This is the foolishness that these folk out here talking today. So, in order to answer the question on why folk would make the claim that the tradition is dead, you got to start there with them not recognizing or refuting, right, the connection that some of our great ancestors and scholars were able to point out, and then you know the scholarship that has been done since they paved the way, right, um has went to you know solidify that connection, right, and that along with the actual traditions and oral traditions of the people in sub-Saharan Africa themselves, right, like these people just completely ignoring all of this, what I'm saying, and trying to sever the ties, trying to sever the connection and whatnot. So that's the reason why. Besides that, it's like, okay, you know, when you're talking about a tradition that, if you're going to relegate it to the time and the place, okay, and you don't understand culture as a fluid thing, like language, it moves, it keeps moving. And if the language is the storehouse of the culture, then the culture moves as the language moves. And the people that practice the culture and speak the language, it moves with them. and it takes on, whatever form it needs to take in order to fit the current ecology that the people encounter, and for them to make whatever adaptations and innovations and evolutions, etc., so on, in order to make it suited to their current circumstances, right? So if you don't understand that, then you end up making foolish statements. Um, now mind you, no one that practices the Kemetic or Kemeti, right? For don't get in trouble with some of these assholes, right? Kemeti or Kemetic or Ni Kemet or whatever I feel like saying right now, right? you know, for folk that practice it, no one's making the claim as though the tradition is, uh like for instance, they try to say, people that were in Kemet, Africans that were in Kemet were taken, into the transatlantic slave trade. No one's making that claim. We're saying that the people in West Africa, the people in Central Africa, right, migrated, and went through what's called an ethnogenesis, right? So, for instance, when people left in waves, right, from the Nile Valley, they migrated to new locations. And this happened at different points in the history. Groups such as the Mande, groups such as the Takar in Cameroon, right? The Bamalinke, right? The Bamoon, the Fang, right? You even look at the Nguni people, okay, in Southern Africa, like, yo, this is where they say they came from. Their ancestors came from these places, right? You know, people look at West Africa and Central Africa and they don't necessarily take into consideration what's called an ethnogenesis, right? And migration and things of that nature. So they think that, for instance, if you find a group in, let's say, Cameroon, like the Bamalinke, and you might think that they have always been in that particular location forever, right? And you can say the same thing about the Yoruba, that particular location, that particular ethnic identity, etc. So on. No, that goes against history. It goes against, oral history. It goes against um what the actual evidence speaks to. You know what I mean? So people need to scale back and really take their time and have a more holistic approach to dealing with the subject matter. So the process that we undertake in the reconstruction of this tradition, we look at it as a pan-African tradition. Many of the groups that we are comprised of genetically, they hold in their traditions and in their oral histories that their ancestors came from Kemet. Some of them even in their documented history, when you're talking about the Takar and the Bamalike, they got dates and all kinds of shit, right? So, you want to talk about the Sanike people, who are the ancestors of the Mandate people. They say they came from Aswan, right? So, then you look at the history of the Bamalike and the Takar. They said that after they left Kemet, they stayed in the Sudan for a minute, and when they were in the Sudan, they lived amongst the Fulani and the Mande. So when we look at the language, linguistics, comparative linguistics, and you line the languages up with the Kemetic languages, with the Maduna, right? And you see that they're genetically related. You line up the cosmologies of the Mande, the Dogon, Bambara, right? You line it up with the Nile Valley traditions. You see a striking resemblance. What's up with the deity Pharaoh, right? The mandate deity Pharaoh, or who the Dogon called Nomo Simi and Osir, right? Did you study that cosmology? You know, this is, this is something where, again, these people who are uh, pretty much dogmatic Western science fanboys. They like to read, they might subscribe to, Nature Journal, right? They like to read these scientific journals, and they take the summary of the studies that they're talking about in the journals, and they use it as law, and they take it as their sword of truth, and they don't even understand, the actual studies that they're reading about. They don't go in, they don't actually delve in to see, who did the studies, where were certain samples. If you're talking about DNA, where were, the remains that were tested from? What time period? Where were they found? In Kemet. You know what I mean? They're not going in depth like that. So, you know, they're taking these other people who are really hesitant to publish and to perform any elaborate, genetic studies on, quote unquote pharaonic period remains. You know, the ones that they do, they don't talk too much about. And when you run it through certain databases and things in that nature, and you see who they ally with, you get a different picture, and you see why the linguistic work comes out the way that it does, and why there's so many people that say that they came from there, right? Especially Bantu people, especially quote unquote, Mande or Sanike people. You see them connections, right? So that's the reason why people talk how they talk. You know what I'm saying? But it's understood. The Kemetic tradition is going through reconstruction for this day and time, because we don't feel like we need to choose one part of our blood or our genetics over another. You know what I'm saying? And we study West Africa. We study the traditions of Central Africa. I say there's no I say there's no yo, can y'all hear me? Just had a call come through. Want to make sure I'm still
Two,
good.
two.
Chill on the soul to
Okay.
you.
Yeah, how you say we study, we go through the entire continent. We are Pan Africanists. You know what I mean? We study it all, you know? And we're not skipping over. This is another claim they like to make. We skipping over our direct ancestors to go back to Kim. Yo, we venerate our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our great grandparents. We venerate our bloodline from now going all the way back without severing any ties or writing anybody off. you know. So I say these are what they used to call bean soup scientists back in the day, talking foolish, you know. And they're saying things that no true scientist would ever say. You know, hope that answered the question.
I know there's more to say. So I just want to give, you know, the floor to anyone in the bot that wants to take the time to, kind of speak to what they heard as well, and you know, paint the picture, because we know we're out here, we have opportunity, we're broadcasting to the world. right now. I got some messages from some folk in Northern Africa and the like. You see what I'm saying? Folks are paying attention, listeners and things like that. So let's talk about, these experiences from what, we have been learning so far in regards to these traditions in Hanisu that you can share. I know there's some things you can't share, but let's talk about, you know, family is the foundation. Let's get into some things, some lessons learned that we use in the realm of practicality since coming into Hanisu.
Okay. So we starting. You said you wanna get into some of the traditions that we can share.
Right, practical, like things that you know for the practitioners that are present. You see what I'm saying? We just spoke about ancestral veneration. Let's talk about the benefits of ancestral veneration that you can share. Let's let the family know about what you do on a daily basis and how these things have impacted your life. For anybody who is available to share.
Okay. And I think we can also connect, show how this is something that African people through do, throughout the continent and the diaspora as well. Like, so for instance, okay, we start um, our tour, on the West Bank, and we go to, Saqqara, we go to Giza, but Saqqara is a good place, right? To kind of um see it in 3D in terms of people. You see these Africans venerating their ancestors, and that's all you see. You see them venerating their ancestors, making offerings, right? They're pouring water, right, for libations, right? Or they might be pouring out some wine or some beer, offering wine, offering beer, you know, burning incense, as an offering to the Ka or spirit of their ancestor, and you know, using the incense also for to invoke the spirit, to draw it, right? This is something that is still done the exact same way. Talking about the Czar tradition and with the Nubians, they still burn incense for the purposes of purification and for the purposes of invoking the spirits. The Nubians, they use the term bokor, right? Now, bokor is a word, an Arabic word that means incense, right? But for the Nubians, it's an entire tradition. It's an entire science or root science. Um, you know, that is beneficial, is medicinal, and is also used for protection and to get busy. You can do a lot with it. But this is something that we share in common. You find it throughout the continent. Um, Even in the tradition called Bori amongst the Hausa, which is equivalent to Czar. Okay, in that it is the indigenous practice that is cloaked inside of the current religious overture, right? That is dominant in the region. So you know in Bori, they also use the incense, and pour libations at the shrine the same way. They use the incense in the exact same manner. And another thing that's a carryover is the use of sand. In the Hiwatneter, the use of sand within the shrine. Pouring sand, and as you leave the shrine, you sweeping away your footprint. This is something that the Hausas still do to this day in the Bori tradition, right? So You know, um, that's one example. Libations, incense. These things are common throughout the continent and the diaspora. Um, you know, the actual offerings. Offering domestic animals, offering hens, offering ducks, offering geese, offering goats, right? Offering rams, offering bulls, right? To the ancestors, to the forces. These are things that you see throughout Saqqara. You see it, what I'm saying, pretty much in every single tomb. You're gonna see a relief where some animals are being offered to the Kaaba, that ancestor, right? So this is again practiced throughout the continent, right? And we do it in Hininsu. I can't speak for other temples or other shrines, right? In let's say, in Hinisu, we have, several families, several clans. So there's several shrines, and these shrines will grow into temples and things of that nature. But we all do the same thing in terms of what I like to call the pillars of African spirituality. What I'm saying? We do offerings. We make offerings to the shrines, right? We make offerings to the Neteru and to the ancestors, right? We offer hens and ducks and geese and goats and rams and bulls and things of that nature to our ancestors and to the Neteru. This is what we do, right? And we perform divination, which is another thing. Divination is something that you find in ancient Kemet and you find it throughout the continent. You know what I mean? And various divination systems. One that's specific to the ancestors, and one, several that's geared towards the Neteru. Right? This is what we do. So, the benefit of these things, okay? This is something that I can say, and I kind of touched on at the beginning. It's like our ancestors. You got to understand the cosmological worldview of African people, and understanding the intrinsic, interdependent, and interconnected relationship between the physical, gross physical realm, right, and the spirit world, right? It's a reciprocal, intrinsic, interdependent, interconnected relationship, right? So, for our ancestors in the Nile Valley, when they, buried their ancestors on the West Bank, they just looked at it as though, okay, they moved to the other side of the river. You know what I mean? But this is the relationship was still one where they interacted with their ancestors. They made offerings to their ancestors. Something that we do down here in New Orleans. We write letters to the ancestors. That's something that they did in Kemet. Wrote letters to leave them at the tomb, leave them on the shrine, right? Along with an offering and a petition for what you want or what you need help with, right? From them, right? So there's a phrase in the Kemetic tradition called akut, right? Akut, right? So a ka akut, right? Or an effective ka. Okay, the effective ka is the ka of an ancestor, right? Or the spirit of an ancestor that has a great deal of sekum, or a great deal of ashe, right? A great deal of baraka, right? From a Sufic, Nubian Sufic perspective, right? It has a great deal of spiritual power. You know what I mean? And because of this, they're able to, be of great assistance to their community and to their family that's still physically alive, and also they're able to fend for themselves in the spirit realm, right? So that's partial, part of the reason why we make the offerings and we feed our ancestors. And this practice of feeding the ancestors and feeding shrines you find throughout the continent. And um, from what I can share from my personal experience, it's like having eyes in the back of your head and at the top of your head. You know what I'm saying? It's like having eyes all around your body. It's like having a military regimen, right? Having an entire line of defense all around you. Having a GPS that is next level beyond Siri and the other broad. You know what I'm talking about? This is my experience. With the tradition. I can't talk for nobody else, right? But yo, everything from getting married, who I married, blah, 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 everything has come through the tradition. You know what I mean? Um, Getting heads up, certain things coming, and you need to mitigate it or circumvent it. This has come through the tradition, come through divination. Being able to communicate with the ancestors, being able to communicate with the Neteru, to commune with them in the sense of being aware of their presence and their influence in your daily life, in every moment, right? This is something that like for me, it's of great benefit. There's not, it's kind of, to say how it's benefited is kind of crazy because like I can say before and after is like night and day, right? Before dealing with the tradition and then getting into it is like night and day. But um right now to even speak of it as something separate is crazy because it's literally not one aspect of my life that isn't connected to it. Where our children were born, my daughters, our daughters were born, the way that they were named, how they received their name. Kim, Kim, she received her name via divination. You know what I'm saying? And uh, Wanda said, she received her name from Aankhu during a ritual. Where Marie was possessed. Anpu spoke and he gave her names. Wanda said Shukara and explained what the names would do for her. You know what I mean? How the name would be able to assist her in fulfilling her destiny. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So, like, for folk they talk about, okay, the tradition's dead, the Neteru aren't real, the Neteru are just symbols, ancestors aren't, what I'm saying, nothing but memories, and these are just symbols and principles and all the other dumbness, what I'm saying? Like, I can't co-sign none of that BS. You know what I mean? I can't knock their experience or lack thereof because they just want to engage this thing topically. It's just information. It's just something, just a bunch of symbols and code for them to, manipulate and masturbate and all the other dumb shit, right? That's them. You know what I mean? But as far as the Benu clan goes, as far as the Nisu goes, our experience with the tradition and African traditions in general is something completely authentic and organic. You know what I'm saying? So, this is the thing. You got people that also try to divorce Kemet from the rest of African culture and traditions as though it's something separate, more akin to the East Asian shit, Buddhism and all of that. Yo, it's I say, when you're talking about, Kemetic spiritual traditions, you're talking about voodoo, you're talking about, Yoruba traditions, you're talking about the traditions in Cameroon to Kar, Fang, Bamalika, you're talking about, you know, Hausa, right? Bori. You're talking about Rob in Senegal. You know what I mean? Talking about, the Bombara traditions, the Dogon traditions. All of these things are kin. They're related, right? And the practices, the cosmologies are damn near identical. We even share forces. Here's an example. The Neter Shu in the Nile Valley, who's the son of Ra, right? He alone, he's the one who opens the heavens, opens the sky, separating Nut and Geb, maintaining order, right? And the intermediary between the realms. So he's also called Wapiti and Ra, or the messenger of Ra. You know what I mean? Um, Together with, with his feminine counterpart Tufnut, they form what's called the Akeru, and form the doorway to the spirit realm, or the Duat. Okay, this is the same force, right, that you find in West Africa as the Orisha Eshu, okay, or Legba, right, which comes from Alegbara, right, Alagbara. You know what I mean? This is the same force who is the opener of the way, intermediary between man and the rest of the Orishas and Olodumare, and the messenger, right? So this same force you find in the Nile Valley, beginning in the Nile Valley in West Africa, right? You find it in the diaspora, but the tradition is dead. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to say. So, and it's many examples. I can go on with continuity and kinship, but I want to advise people that, when you are listening to people, you got to make sure that you do your due diligence and realize when somebody don't know what they're talking about, and they haven't done the field work, they haven't done the field research, they haven't traveled. They haven't traveled even through the literature like that, for real, for real. You know what I mean? And when somebody will take the words of the Europeans, you know what I'm saying, just the words, and not even really dissecting the words of these Euros, right? But when they'll take the Europeans' word at face value and use that word to write off the words of their ancestors and where their ancestors say they came from. That to me, that's some crazy, that's some Oreo shit. That's some Negropean shit right there. Just to be frank. Just to be frank. All right.
We we see the Imhotep clan done left a comment up here in the suit. Can we walk through that right here? I don't know if they're available to speak for themselves, but they,
Okay. I say, are they on here?
I don't think so. I think they have some issues trying to get in, but we do
Okay.
got we do got the intergalactical spokesman in the building up in here. You know,
Who
we
that?
do we do got say about Taji up in here.
Okay. 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 Uncle Justin there, Taji.
Uncle Jasanev Nisu, Uncle Jasanev Sinborn. How y'all living?
Hey, hey, smoke time, baby. Smoke them if you got them. You
Hey,
understand?
shoot, I just been sitting in the corner catching the contact. That's all.
Do want to tell.
Puff
Do want
puff
to tell.
yeah, puff puff yeah.
Sure.
So
Yo,
any
hold on. Before Taji go, right? Let's deal with what Gabit said, right? She said we got married and birthed a child in this great tradition. Like, I mean, like, this is something people don't understand. Like, This is families. These are families. This is family, right? We are establishing houses. We are forming relationships. People are getting married, having babies within the tradition every step of the way, getting married before the shrine of their ancestors, joining shrines. You know what I mean? Before their ancestors, before the Neter that governs their marriage, and before their community. You know what I mean? And they're taking oaths before their ancestors and before the community and before their Neter. Their children, right, were born in the tradition and named in the tradition. The Imhotep clan, right? Their youngest daughter, Gerahet Ma'at, right? She was born in the tradition, and she had her naming ceremony in the tradition. You know what I'm saying? At one of the retreats. You know what I mean? I name my goddaughter myself. You understand? So for folk that it don't compute what this is about, you gotta really wonder what it is that they're after. What are they doing? You know what I mean? What are they doing? What are they building? Have they ever built anything? Have you built a successful relationship? Jokers is always trying to knock somebody off of what they're on, and then they don't have shit for 'em to replace it. You know what I mean? You know, you just want folk to be miserable, right? Or you want folk to, go with you to, work for the Wazi or whatever. You ain't trying to build. You're not trying to form familial ties and build an actual community. You know what I'm saying? Where you actually coming together and pooling your resources and purchasing land and building your homes and your schools and your temples and your factories and growing your food and your textiles and whatnot right there on your own land. You can't be talking about that. And having an actual culture and a unified code that governs the way you interact with one another, and how you're, having ancestral ideals and standards, you know what I'm saying, archetypes that each and every member of that community is expected to live up to and model themselves after. You know what I mean? If you're not in it for that, then we don't need to talk. You know what I'm saying? I'll be frank. I'm not gonna waste too much time with you. You know what I'm saying? I say I smile a lot, but certain things I don't have patience for. You know what I mean? It took me a long time to get to where I'm mostly smiling, but most of the time when I'm smiling, it's to stop from cussing somebody or slapping somebody, just to be frank. You know what I mean? So I smile and I laugh at shit, and I laugh at shit that many people deem inappropriate to laugh at, because that other side of the game is just, you know it ain't sweet. You understand? So you are, I advise folk to tread lightly when you are trying to mess with somebody's life, especially when you're doing so out of ignorance and you don't even know what the hell you talking about. You still trying to find your damn self. So go find yourself. You know what I mean? And if you need help with that, we can help you with that.
Say bye, Taji. You wanna to some of the things that you done heard over there in tech?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do want to tear for the platform. Do want to tear for the interviews, the recaps, everything. Everyone has had to, contribute to the discussion tonight. So do want to tear for that very much. Now, I'm not really, Nasu hit most all of his subjects on the head. So I'm not really gonna kill those too much. But what I wanted to speak about, well, first let me start off by speaking on, Hinitsu and my experiences within Hinitsu. One thing that I'm not ashamed to say that I feel he needs to um, make sure makes sure that they or we distinguish ourselves from other Kemetic or committee um, organizations, temples, shrines, and everything. And by no means to, I don't want any more division than there's already been. But so not to belittle or demean any other of those groups, organizations, families, so on and so forth, is our commitment to the authentic tradition and the way in which we go about it. Um, we do we pride ourselves. Many of us pride ourselves on our ability to resurrect, reconstruct, and live this culture by way of actually engaging it. Engaging it from we have our scholarly perspectives. There are those of us who have made rounds in different other circles amongst different ATRs. Though some of us who are even birthed with some elements and aspects of ATR, you know, within their life, their upbringing, their childhood, from jits to however old we may be now. So with that, our ability to synthesize this culture, synthesize our individual and collective knowledge to ensure that this tradition is lived in a way that is it's more than just a simple spirituality. It's a way of life. Like as Nasu has said, we have children, not even a year old yet, who are born in tradition, children who are being raised in the tradition, children who will soon, begin initiations into, the fraternal societies within the traditions, children who are being trained as priests and priestesses. This is something for us that goes beyond simply just interacting with our ancestors as far as giving offerings, singing praise, and just doing ritual. It extends into our daily lives. You know, there will be, decisions that we won't make until we get the go from divination. And when we say divination, we're talking about divinations, various forms of them, those, as Nasu was saying, are tailored to ancestors who are tailored to the Neteru. There are some of us, there will be some situations where we will not, bust a move until that divination gives us the green light. Me personally, I'll be sitting at my ancestor shrine, my Aankhu shrine for an hour, until, that divination opens up and say, okay, now you can do ritual. You know what I'm saying? This is something that we're trying to create beyond our individual selves that go on, extend from our personal lives to our familial lives, to our communal lives, and eventually to our national lives. And we do this by interacting with the ancestors and the Neteru, the forces of nature, and the various principles in which they govern in a intrinsic, holistic kind of way. It goes far beyond just simply trying to be our best selves. Granted, these traditions are supposed to make you better men, better women. And I often say that our traditions make us both men and they make us women, to who that, refers to respectively. So we're trying to make this into something greater, and we do so by engaging in a rigorous scholarship, training and learning the Medu by, deciphering the information from the text, firsthand, and comparing that with our experiences among different other ATRs, to ensure that this ritual is what it is, and basically propels us forward to our individual and collective goals. For me, after joining, participating, and living this culture and this tradition, my life has been, it's gone up, much different from when, I was praying every night, to Jesus and, all this other crazy stuff, to each their own. I'm not going to knock that. I'm going to tell you, I would agree with it, but to each their own. However, for me personally, I've witnessed how this tradition has produced tangible, growth and development within me personally, as well as my surroundings, my personal life, my family life, you know, interaction with the community, and that's what these forces and this tradition is about. It's not about simply yourself. This is about your community. So we give it to our children, we give it to our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, elders. It extends far beyond us, and having that experience has caused me to grow. It's caused me to grow and produce, basically mold my reality with my own two hands by way of the force of the ancestors and the Netaru. I have a list upon list of different examples that I could give you of how this juju really got things popping. Had it not been for some juju I might have did like 6 months ago, I might not even be on here right now. You know what I'm saying? So there, if you talk to me, we have a discussion. I could give you some of these examples, but the things that I've seen, you know, makes it impossible for me to, to even entertain the idea of this being a dead tradition. And even if it is a dead tradition, if that's what people want to say, then, it's our responsibility as, Herus to, resurrect it in the same way in which, Osir was resurrected. So, I'm gonna give it a break real quick, and then, we can keep on going.
I'm out there agreeing. What was going on?
Yeah, man. I got two of them back there behind me.
Going down. I guess I could ask you. You talked about your involvement in her niece. How have you grown since you've been her niece and now about it as a whole? That was you, Tajik.
Oh yeah, yes. Do I? So as far as my growth, it's kind of hard to explain, when I just live it. But when I think about like my as far as like leadership skills, with my facilitation of the weekly Meduneta classes, my ability for organization and certain aspects of leadership have have definitely improved. Those skills have definitely improved in terms of my work within the priesthood. It's definitely taught me how to deal with people, be patient with people, and this isn't necessarily always directly involved with Hininsu specifically, but after it was shortly after my initiation, that certain people, that I didn't know, began coming to me for certain advice for certain things and whatnot. So I make sure not to work outside of my pay grade. But it was interesting to me how some, like, shortly after my initiation into priesthood, a small influx of people, became looking to me, without me having to, reach out or anything like that. Reaching out to me. And, even with that, this taught me, patience and how to deal with people, things of that nature, and it's almost like right after or shortly after my tradition, I began having to, work on the way that I carry myself and the, certain attitudes and postures, that a priest would eventually have to undertake. So I'm not out here in people inboxes talking about, oh, the ancestors or the Netaru, gave me this message for you. None of that. Things just showed up, and from I figured you get a kick out of that. But shortly it was just amazing how shortly after that, these tests and these learning moments began to, flow, a little bit, and teach me, how to govern myself as a priest. I'm not gonna change myself or who I am or nothing like that, but I've definitely had to evolve and learn. As a matter of fact, a good example, yesterday, it might have been, no, I think it was today. I take that back. It was yesterday, but yesterday, you know, Baru, hit. And for those who don't know, Baru's, omens and signs of the Neteru and the ancestors, so on. You know, less than 30 days from a divination that I did for myself, like at the beginning of the year, beginning of this month, beginning of the year, within less than 30 days, the message, and warnings that the divination conveyed were made, concrete yesterday. Within less than 30 days, like what, 2 weeks, 2 3 weeks, something like that. The omens made themselves concrete and solidified. So that's also taught me, you know, something I already knew, but to always, always be wary, be wary of the signs. It's also taught me to, learn and trust divination, because for more on more than one occasion, this is just an example, but more than one occasion, this divination holds true. And when I'm talking about divination, I'm not talking about no, cowrie shit, not cowrie shells, tarot cards or crystals and none of this, actual, organic divinations. So it's taught me, to grow in my foundation, in my steadfastness, in my tradition, and how to govern myself, as a growing man. Because I'm only 22, but I've been in this tradition since 18, 19. I want to say it was 18 and 19. So I've grown in this tradition. 18, that's still really a kid, but I was, somewhat, I'm not gonna say raised, but I was, groomed in the tradition at a very pivotal point in my life, and that's helped shape me into, who and what I am today. On top of, my original background, my original experiences, and those who instilled the things in me. The tradition really just reinforced a lot of the things in which I was taught and I was raised and I was brought up with. Things such as respecting rank. You grow up and you say your OGs will tell you, stop talking while be quiet while when grown folks is talking. You know what I'm saying? Learn to respect position, rank, family structure, family in itself. All these things I was raised with, but it's amazing how you see the Africanness in the tradition when it reinforces everything that you were brought up with, as a young African in America.
Why? Do why? Do why? Say why? All right. Since I got you on here, though, say why? You found a way, and I was trying to get it hooked up. It was too much high explosive, too much hot fire for me to have with the broadcast at the same time. So I'm gonna find a way to hook it up and put it in the video.
Okay.
Um, you found a way to meld the traditions into music. Can you talk about that? Can you talk about that um, as a practitioner, as an artist, also just looking out at the landscape, you know, across the traditions. You know, how do you see some of the artists infusing hip hop into making these traditions more palatable, more soft on the ears, more of a draw for our people out here.
To you. Yeah, give me a quick second and I'll be sure to go ahead and answer that for you real quick.
All right, all right, all right. I told y'all, whoever's still listening, that we had time today. You understand? We had some time today. You know, we had time, cuz. You know what I'm saying? I got time today. You know, so um, for the commentary, you know, I appreciate the people taking time and rocking with us for as long as they have been. You know, and seeing right, and I hope we are taking mindful benefit and use of what's being presented here. This is a one-on-one situation. You won't find this in this fashion. So that's why I'm so glad that the Yabat was available to come through tonight and lay this out in this manner. So, say Bob, if you back with us, you got the floor in regards to the question.
To you, Dua. So finding a way to meld the tradition, both the tradition and music together in one, isn't necessarily. It shouldn't be, as even though as crazy as it is, it is, but it shouldn't be anything strange. It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't even be, quote unquote, revolutionary or even outside the box, because that's what music is. Music is the blending of your culture, with the music. It's the literal expression of your culture. Whenever you can hear certain drum patterns, you'll know, where that's from. You'll hear certain horn patterns, you'll know where that's from. It's a literal expression of the culture. So even though it is seen as something outside of the box, because it's not something that we see a whole lot these days, doesn't mean that this is something crazy or unorthodox. So I live this tradition, every waking moment. I live this tradition. So your life experiences, your tradition, how you were raised, your environment are going to inform the sound of your music. It's just an expression of your life. So I salute all the brothers and sisters who are, taking the time to, you know, express and illustrate, their return to their source, return to their origins, their ancestors, and the living of their culture. I salute all of them. Shout out to Tahir RBG, uh, shout out to Damani True, shout out to Ife Jai, shout out to the brother Richard Raw, Wolfhawk Jaguar, and the list goes on, and thankfully enough, the list is actually, getting kind of long. It's growing. So salute to all the brothers and sisters who are out there doing it, because, you know, the most important thing is, you have to think about it. The most important thing is that if these traditions are family and communal based traditions, then it's important that it's palatable. It has to be palatable, because your children are coming up behind you. If this is the music that your children are gonna hear, then you might as well, you know, cause it to be something that empowers them, lifts them, expresses that their culture isn't something that's stagnant. You know what I mean?
Zayba, can you see that right there?
Yeah, to you.
Can you read that for the family?
Yes, sir. So may I rise, even I, may I gather myself together like a beautiful hawk of gold, with the head of a phoenix entering Torah. So that is an excerpt from the Pertim Hera, the chapter of becoming I want to say a golden falcon, a divine falcon. So it's a funerary ritual that's taking place in that chapter to basically empower and give strength and give life to the ancestor. And where I pulled this from, the ancestor was Ani, but it applies to to all ancestors. This can be used as a short hymn during ancestral rituals to give strength and elevate an ancestor.
Hmm. Now, what about these characters that are up here at the top?
So I'm not gonna make this a middle netta class or nothing like that. So if I
Little little background, just a little something, something. Let's go
yeah,
ahead.
so we're
Yeah.
not gonna turn this into a middle netta class because I mess around, and get on a roll, and we'll be here for 3 more hours. Um, so for those who they're gonna keep it real simple, so we keep it moving. But for those who don't know, reminder to those who do know or don't need it. Those glyphs, those characters at the top. That's Medu Neter, the divine speech or Sesh Medu Neter. For those who are gonna be picky about it. The written language of the ancient Rimich or the Egyptians, what a lot of people call them. So you got some people that'll say, this hasn't been deciphered, yada yada yada, boom boom boom. But you can compare it, the transliterations, translations versus with different cognate East African, South African, West and East, North African, languages. You can break it down and all that. So that, yeah, I'm gonna leave that right there at that.
Okay. So this exists. This is not imaginary.
No sir, no sir. I got some of these tatted on me.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Uh, the Sue, if you still with us, here we go. Let me bring you. Bam.
Yo, can you hear me?
Um, did you want to wrap it up? Was there something else you want to get into, or is this good for this part right here? Or,
Okay. Well, just in terms of something that Taji um spoke on, that I appreciated him speaking on it, and I want to kind of touch on it just a little bit, you know, and that's in terms of one of the primary things that we are addressing our people is that we need culture. I hear people say, well, African Americans have a culture, right? We have African American culture and blah, 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 etc. So on. So there's no organization. You know what I mean? And if there's no organization, there's no order. And if you just got little pockets of you know interpretations of what that culture is or is not, then there's no cohesiveness, and there's no way to have everyone on the level to the point where you're understanding and looking at things the same way. So a good example of that, right? you know if you don't have a common culture, you don't really have a true community, and that's something that, if we keep it a buck, we got to keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, a hot topic that's going on in the quote unquote conscious community at this moment is disrespect for elders. Okay, people talking about the elders and saying, okay, there's no respect for the elders, this, that, and the third, or they might say that, okay, that's your elder, but he's not my elder, and blah 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 blah, etc. So on. Well, you know, some people might take offense to it, but traditional setting, how one becomes an elder, it depends the way that they live up to the cultural ideals and standards of the community, right? And determines them to be an elder and not just an older, so to speak, right? So you have a community, and within this community there is a code. right? And there are standards and ideals that the members within that community are expected to meet in order to hold positions of responsibility within that community. Matter of fact, before they can even speak from an authoritative position or for their opinion to even matter, they have to meet certain standards and live up to certain ideals, right? And that character got to be cultivated. So if you don't have that type of community where everybody's living by that code and, striving to live up to those ideals and those standards, then, you know, there's no way for, a place of mutual recognition and respect and acceptance, to take place if that's absent. You know what I mean? So, you know, this person over here might mean something in this community over here, right? But then you got this person that's not inside of the community that don't live by that code or those standards, etc., so on. And they're telling you that's not my elder, that's your elder, and they shooting at your elder, right? Not necessarily like with guns or whatever, but they throwing shots at your elder. Okay. This is this is an example of a major problem. And that's not even just the only one, because we talk about the issue in terms of the relationship between the African man and the African woman is a cultural problem. It's due to lack of strong cultural ideals and strong culture. Just to be frank, you know what I'm saying? This is Negro peons are as American as apple pie, as they say. You understand? Because we all over the place like they all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And anybody thinking whatever and doing whatever, you know what I'm saying, etc. so on, that's the norm in this place. And it don't have to make sense. It don't have to be natural. It don't, I say it can even be abominable. You understand? Um, you know, all of the taboos of African cultures, the various taboos in terms of social interaction and things of that nature is goddamn green light here. You know what I mean? So our people suffer from a lack of culture. That culture even informs you. Your cultural ideals and your ancestral archetypes even go in to form your understanding and knowledge of yourself. You know what I mean? So you don't even know, we don't even know what it means to be a man or a woman in African culture because it's missing. You understand? So we don't even know how to relate to each other because we don't know what we're supposed to be. That culture's missing, right? So what we are addressing, right, is that that issue. And instead of saying, okay, we going over here, or we with this and over here, etc., so on, we are picking a grand unifying ancestral about that continent. We are truly, we are we identify with the whole continent and through practice and tradition.
Yo,
I
yo,
can,
yo.
yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Whatever part of Dr. King's speech that you just had, it broke up.
That's great. Yo, so like I said, we practice this tradition, and one of the benefits that practicing this particular tradition, Nile Valley culture, the Kemetic tradition, the Nikemet tradition, what this has afforded us is the ability to walk in and out of any African tradition walk in and out of any African community. You know what I mean? And fit right in. You know what I'm saying? And get busy and understand what's going on because we got that ancestral archetype tradition. You understand? That we're drawing from. So when we go in these places, we see the continuity and kinship, and we know that we are family, right? You know what I'm saying? So folk that ain't on it like that, they ain't, never, what I'm saying, did nothing, never been nowhere, and all of this is just, jokers is bored, right? You know, that's them, right? That's them. But we doing something a little different over here.
To you, Nasur, I believe we got a representative from the Imhotep clan on the line. You know, uh, our good brother Sutesh in the building,
Uh
aka
oh.
Kwani. You gotta unmute that microphone. There you go. There you go. Unmute it. Hit it. Hit it. Hit it. There you go. Just one time. There you go. Say something. Got to say something now. If you talking, we can't hear you.
Hotel Pool.
There you go. There you
You
go.
know, Father
Personnel
Time got to take his time
was
with that technology. You know what I'm saying?
not real sure
Father Time,
you hear me. I think I got
old
pool
Kansu got to take his time with that
Oh,
technology.
connoisseur. Oh man, he been waiting all night to try to get on too. That's the thing. He's been waiting all night. We can hear you. All you gotta do is start talking. We got
I'm
I mean, damn.
just going to go ahead and speak.
Yo, yo.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys can and cannot. I'm, the place where I am with. Hope that you guys can and clear. If so, can I get a head nod?
No,
You
no. I
guys,
say you
if
on
I'm
you
coming
on
across
Wi-Fi?
and not chat.
Are you good now?
Okay. So it sounds like all right, all right. So basically, you know, myself and my wife, coach in tradition, and I was introduced to the tradition over 5 years ago, and a path that is very tedious. You understand? Because there's a lot of inside work, a lot of self. When I speak of the self that is carrying the torch for your bloodline, this self of many different elements, many different components, and actually getting the end is a whole nother story, almost or vehicle. And the majority of people that drive and operate vehicles about the inner workings of the mechanisms, the that are going underneath the hood that it takes to basically get them from to school or get them to the market. So it is very important that we understand this worldview took time to understand side, but through the more internal side. And like I said, it has diligent path, or one that show ocean, and I heeded to the wise words of Nasu, our chief priest, in getting my character, getting a lot that Nick had within me to be calmed down and get my flame tempered, to not run in such erratic ways that are consequences that back and or undo things. So it definitely does show how to according to listener, get it right. Definitely say learning Ninsu about the connect Nasu say by Tati and born, everybody's been speaking about the connection of our ancestors, because a lot of times I think Nasu, even after we've gotten out of or westernized religions, we ourselves closer to the divine, or we are the divine, and now we start people upside down. And but the humble nature and these people that you are beating up are your family. These people that, if you are healthy and somebody's family is sick, you shouldn't pride yourself at them because you have a remedy, but they don't. You understand? And it is an important thing for us to understand as Africans time, and understanding that devotion, that the time that it take, it may not be in this lifetime, it may not be in the and align with the processes, appointing orders, uh, start cultivating the will. Like I said, this is a place able to do so. Even as I asked the brother, a renowned leader, brother, I think he's going to 120 some odd countries looking for African Black greatness out the world. Renoko Rashidi, and where is the place, all the places that he's been, that he could see the African will being highest degree, to the highest level. With him, and study those. He said nowhere outside of the Nile Valley, trying to put the Nile culture up above anybody else, but I think a lot of times the credit is not given to Nile Valley that it needs to be. Our ancestors were in South Africa, ancestors were West Africa, Northern Africa, Central Africa, just like our ancestors world, just as we have plenty of ancestors here in Americas. So it's not that we're trying to put aspect of culture or civilization of another, but we must homage to high degree of building of civilization and sustain. And we must ask, what was it that I answered that allowed them to sustain civilizations for thousands of years? And I think the European Zungu, he definitely going in. You allow he sustains ingredient book. You understand? It's a lot of times we see they do those very things that our people deem as demonic, as evil, and the other end up doing what the European us to do, and we'll wind up doing the same thing, that we'll demonize our African, that we're practicing the whole thing. I think just as Nasu brought it, how in Christianity it's basically a human sacrifice. It's how the beast. Yeah. So it's not to say that, we spoke of a human sacrifice. They're talking about the very thing that I, but then we want to spit on our ancient tradition, ancient cultures that allowed our ancestors a level of being. So appreciate the Hindu family. I can appreciate the Sioux to be granted access where I understand my slave to the quote unquote universe, because after I got out of the church, there is no God. I'm God, right? And then I went from that to saying, well, hey, God is he, or God is stand. We are divine, but want the most divine. You understand? Be humble in that approach. We have to be humble in the approach, saying, well, hey, I'm thankful for this car, but I don't, I need to learn to tap in order to be proper function when something goes wrong, when something goes faulty. And, I can't other than what has been expressed about our tradition and how it is a one that looks African, not split us further apart. And when we are DTRs and the comedic, the conscious community, whatever it is that you just question yourself, are you driving yourself from the African, regardless if believe or see the world the same as you do, close, restore the vast level of us. So I can appreciate the work that is being done. I Because not only when we got married, our ancestors under the forces that govern our married into a cultural. So therefore, there have been a many a times that I know that my wife and I have called to the Sioux and family. At the end of the day, they have been nothing but helpful inside maintaining the proper function of what comes family. You understand? Community couldn't be families where things wise. Uh, we gotta have safety. You understand? Communities, so-called community, have this. They are not marrying and bringing together the very components that it needs, that we need in order to produce. Stand together the very components needed in order to sustain. You understand? To hell with all that other talk. You understand? So, you got a lot of people in that religions that are doing more than some of the quote unquote conscious folk. You understand? So this is a thing where we must have to, we must take, not throw out the baby with the bath water. I was talking junk and, Martin Luther King, where I had to say would agree totally 100% with his path. He is one of our ancestors that stood for the betterment of our people. Time not at a place where we are for and having those types of figures. So I think it is very important that we preserve those that are genuinely doing the work, genuinely committed to do. I want to thank again, the royal family. I want to say dua to seeing born and do platform. Definitely go out and support the brother Peninsu, because these are pillars inside quote unquote conscious community inside our communities, outside of the communities. So I'm giving, praise and admiration to the parties and the four of Natel that guide us, that are with us as we are on restoring the broken pieces of ourselves, the broken pieces of our broken piece community, and for the broken piece nation. This is gonna so like I said, I'm definitely greatly being at this place.
Say, I
Appreciate
want
it.
to say I want to say one quick thing, and then y'all can we can go wherever y'all want to go with this. I just want to say one quick thing, real quick. Permission to speak.
Go ahead. I say, born. I say, we got time or we gotta go.
We got time. We got time.
I
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
already. So I just wanted to, when Equanif was speaking, he said a whole lot of good stuff. Took him a while to get him in here, but when he showed up, he showed out. Um, so he was speaking in regards to a topic we've all touched on, in our contribution to the conversation about, and one thing about family, and how, an example of how I can demonstrate how this tradition has brought together families, satisfied families. I personally take great pride in it. I'm sure Nisu knows. I'm not sure if the rest of the about does, but in regards to not this past Sukari festival, but the Sukari festival prior to that, I want to say it was. I was able to facilitate, the feeding of Sukari, Anpu, and our ancestors on the land given to me by my ancestor, my now transitioned grandfather, Oser Joe Louis Mundy, Ma Kwaru. Um, you know, for those of y'all who don't know what Sukari Festival is, it's our annual service to Sukari, um, the Neter, who is the Lord of the Duat, as well as our ancestors together. It was I take great pride in it because not only is my grandfather, whose land that was and who I inherited from, um, not only because he was an ancestor, or he is an ancestor, but to be able to facilitate the feeding of my extended families, ancestors on ancestral land directly next to the cemetery with more ancestors of mine in my blood family. It was a really moving and emotional moment for me. And when I tell you my ancestors were so happy after that moment, it was just it was something to experience. The whole thing, how it went down. Because we was scratching how to figure out how to get this done, how to get that done. But sure enough, the ancestors, the Netzru came through, and for our most important ritual festival of the year, to be able to facilitate that with my blood family, my ancestors, as well as my Hininsu family was, I can't even really put it into words. So I'm really proud of it. Really proud of that moment.
Dwan Ted, hey, that ding was right on time. Dwan Ted, yeah, 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 yeah. Like I said, it's too much. As far as talking about benefits, of the tradition and whatnot, and we could be here all night because I got stories for days. We don't, I say, we say we got time, but I don't think we got that kind of time. You heard me?
You got it. A few stories to drive the point home and to illustrate to the folks that are listening. Hey, folks is around. They want to know what's up. So It's
Well,
it's
let
morning
let me
time in
just say
other
this.
places. You know what I'm saying? And we worldwide, so it's people just getting up and they tuning in. This is a hot topic. Everything else they're gonna hear,
Well,
it will be subpar.
well, let me say this right, because I just said something earlier. I thought it was interesting. Regardless of what level he meant it, I could damn sure relate. Probably on every level. He was like, he had to do some work, some spiritual work, right? Some rituals, probably some offerings or sacrifices. That he said if he didn't get it done, he probably wouldn't be here right now, right? He had to do that work like 6 months ago or something like that. So let me say this, anybody that actually practices an ATR, right, an African traditional religion, an African traditional spiritual system, um, you'll hear them say similar things. Oftentimes you'll hear them talk about how, they got the heads up via divination, via, an ancestor, through divination or through a medium or through a dream or something like that. They needed to protect themselves from, right? They needed to look out for and avoid, and or divination gave them heads up and gave them a prescription, offer this sacrifice, blah, 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 go about it this way, etc., so on, and it literally saved their life, not figuratively speaking. You hear things about people suffering from sicknesses, and they were ill, right? They went to the doctor, and the doctors couldn't help them. And they went to the traditionalist, and approached it from a different way, and it helped them. You know what I mean? Like I got personal stories like that where this tradition has saved my life on numerous occasions. You know, um, you know, on certain things before they happen, and then boom, just like I saw weeks out, a month out, you know what I mean? It came to fruition, and I was already prepared on how to deal with it. So, this is common experience for practitioners of these traditions. Now, one story I can share. It's like, okay, last year my for my congestive heart failure, something like that. You know, the same week that he or say, let's say a couple of days after he transitioned from from congestive heart failure, my father got sick with the same thing. He had to go to the hospital and whatnot because he was dealing with a little congestive heart failure situation, and that shit happened back to back. And I'm like, okay, yo, what's going on, right? And I did the divination for my father, and it was something with Heru. So I'm like, yo, is there something that can be done to help my father come out of the situation that he's in? I'm asking that at the mat, and then the tear that came up was, Heru Samatawi. Okay, now Heru Samatawi, this is a form of Heru that is the son of Heru Behudet and Het Heru Neptunut, right? Or Het Heru Lady of Dendera. Okay. And Heru Behudet, this is the Heru of Behudet or Edfu, right? And this is a different Heru that, this is Heru, the son of Ra, right? So this is a different Heru than Heru, the son of Osir and Aset. Just to give a little bit of breakdown of intricate it can get. And they have a son, right? Heru Behudet has a son with Het Heru named Heru, right? Heru Samatari, Heru who joins or unites the two lands. Now, Heru is often associated with the heart. And Sama to write Samatawi, okay, um, you know, you have the lungs and the trachea, right? And the lungs, you have the Neter Hapi on both sides of this particular, emblem where they are tying a knot, tying together a knot around the lotus and a knot with the lotus and papyrus around these lungs, representing the union of upper and lower Kemet. Now, if you know anything about congestive heart failure, it happens when the heart gets weak to the point where it's not able to pump as powerful as it should, and as a result of that, there's an impact on the actual lungs. Your lungs begin to fill up with fluid. You know what I mean? And you might actually suffocate, right? So this is what was going on, and the Neter that came up in the divination was Heru Samatawi. So in there with you have the heart, the association with the heart with Heru, and then you have the lungs present with Samatawi. And this is the force that came up in divination. And I had to make an offering for that particular force, and I left that offering um, you know, as instructed. I was instructed to leave it at the hospital, and I left it at the hospital in a a place where it was off and folk couldn't really see it, but I left it at the hospital. And literally the next day, my father was up. The very next day, he was up. They was talking about putting him. They told me actually then, after I did the ritual, they told me that he had congestive heart failure. That's what happened. And he got up the next day. They told him that they were going to put him in a program to help strengthen his heart. Um, I came back and, I went to the Heru shrine, giving thanks and things of that nature. And, you know, but I couldn't get the shrine to close out, right? So, um, I started asking, do you want this? Do you want this? But it was no, 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 right? So I'm there for a nice little minute. And finally, something tell me, ask if he wants something removed from the shrine, right? So I'm like, do you want me to remove something, right? And then he's like, yes. So I removed some seeds, like some pumpkin seeds from the shrine. And when I grabbed them, I felt that they were salted. I don't know. I said I didn't. You know what I mean? So, little mishap there because you don't offer salt to the shrine. You don't offer salt to the forces. Salted foods instead of thirst. So I quickly removed the seeds and I threw again, and it was like I'm good now. The next day, my father was able to go home, and they said he was walking so good and breathing so good that he didn't even need to go into the program. You know what I'm saying? His numbers and whatnot checked out so good. He didn't even need to go into the program to strengthen his heart. He'd been kicking and, moving like clockwork again ever since. So, if you know about, okay, like associations, as far as like we talk about, your T figures, your father, you know, uncles and things of that nature, they are associated with Heru. Okay, so this is if we were talking about another tradition, it'd be a different force, maybe Shango, etc. So on. If we're talking about Yoruba tradition, but Kemet that falls Thru, and through divination, I was able to help my father overcome something that my uncle had literally just died from a couple of days before that. So, when people talk, that's all they're doing. But as for me, like I said, I live this. I've been doing this for over a decade now, teaching this to other people for over a decade. What I'm saying? So I got too many stories, too many experiences to listen to the riffraff. You heard? So, just want to say that if you're interested in, what we do, if you're interested, in Hininsu and want to learn more, you can visit our website www.hininsu.com. That's it on the screen there. You understand? www.hininsu.com, HENENSU, right? .com. And you'll find information pertaining to my work, things of that nature. Remembering Goseb, I highly recommend. Interested in learning the Kemetic tradition, I highly recommend that you check out the book Remembering Goseb, and you can A and B it, compare and contrast it to whatever else is out there, right? Um, you know, and also of course you can contact me direct. I'm not the elitist, snobbish, unapproachable dude that you can't get in contact with and connect with. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can find my number on the flyers. That's my direct line. You know what I mean? You can call, like I said, you can hit me in the email. You can hit me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. I'm on all of that. You know what I'm saying? So, um, you know, we're here to be of service to our people. And, we don't proselytize, we don't recruit. You know what I'm saying, folk? You know what I mean? You want to learn, come learn. And if you think it's for you, you want to join the family, come on, join the family. Reconnect with your family, right? Information pertaining to our annual pilgrimage, our biannual pilgrimage, to the Nile Valley is also available on the site, the registration form, the itineraries, etc. So on. So, you want to learn more or you want to join us in anything, holla at us. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? When I say I want to say I want to say do why, to send born, for on this wonderful platform and taking the time, right? We done took 3 hours and 33 minutes, to deal with it. And I truly appreciate the Abat, dua to Sintaji, do why to what I'm saying, dua to for joining in and sharing their experience. Sin Behudet, Sin Sinet Wasarit, right? Dua to Sin Iqanif for chiming in, and dua to the family. Thank you to the family tuning in from YouTube, from Facebook and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all taking the time.
All right, Dewad and Sue for coming through and bringing the a bot in and getting surgical up in here. You understand? So anyone watching or tuning into this broadcast, whether it be now or in the future, they should have no question or doubt in their mind. We broadcasting everywhere, so even to Group on Facebook and a couple of other places. So we're about to wrap it up. Thank you again and for presenting us with a one-on-one experience here in regards to Now Valley and us getting able to glean from your missions over in pilgrimage, a sacred land. We about to get up out of here. I think this is my last show for the day. I think. I don't remember no more. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? I think this is the fourth or the fifth show of the day. So let me just do my commercial before I go. And the suit, you can take this, you can chop it, you can use it however you see fit, as marketing tools um, for your endeavors and to further the reach of the about
Do I
the
the tear? Appreciate that. Oh yo, and let me say, do I to my beautiful wife, my powerful wife,
Woo!
Hamat Nisu Wari,
I wasn't
Marina
gonna let that one.
Tersekere New. Yeah, I don't lost my goddamn mind. Okay, so you know what I mean. Let me
Earphones got
get my
hot and
act
all
together.
kinds of shit. Just
You know what I'm saying? Do I? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Do I to Marie for everything, right? For everything.
do my quick commercial. I gotta make sure I do this. What's going on up in here? And you see how this you see this microphone. Who will speak for Africa? You see the folk here, yeah, saying this Pan African speak for that all is done haphazardly. We got the shirts, we got this hoodie. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that for these hoodies, these shirts, we got them on hand. Extra large, 2X in the shirts, 2X in the hoodies. $40 for the shirt, $40 for the hoodie. Coming to a city mail 2 or 3 days top. We out of here, family. Love and up to you. Bye.
Yeah, enough for Synapse. Black power.